Before we start, a quick note. This podcast is not a substitute for professional mental health care. If you need support, consider reaching out to a licensed professional. This podcast can include strong language and difficult topics. Pause if you need to. Let's get into it. I'm really glad to welcome Peay today. Peay is a professor of Black Studies and a native of Southeast Texas. With 7 years of experience working in secondary education across the Houston area before entering graduate school. Coming to his academic work with a deep love of music, food, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Peay brings a curious, embodied sensibility to how he thinks about learning, culture, and the quiet shoulds that shape our lives. Peay, I'm really looking forward to exploring how your experiences in education, scholarship, and life outside the classroom shape how you think about culture, identity, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we should be. Welcome to I Feel Like I Should.
Thanks for having me, man. This is a really cool premise that I'm really looking to diving into. I think we all have these things that we tell ourselves along the way about shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and all this other stuff, and it's really really good to kind of tackle these big questions. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and it's kind of a fun way. Like I said when I kind of reached out to you initially, like we're gonna start with music, because for me, music is a really big part of my life, and I think having been in a lot of your classes at on the mat, music seems to be a big part of your life as well. Obviously, in your bio, so it's always fun to kind of get into those shoulds, and then we'll kind of go into some deeper ones. But if you're game, I've been starting with an icebreaker, sort of, as an experiment, which is like what is a song that you secretly love? Something that like always brings your mood up, even if you wouldn't admit it to anyone.
Oh, um, I don't know if there's anything that I wouldn't admit, man. I've always had a very broad range of like musical interests. Um, I've been really digging Olivia Dean right now, so, like, anything that she puts out over the last like, I'm discovering her, right,
Yeah.
late because 'cause I'm one of those people that don't follow trends or listen to people when people tell me that, "Oh, there's this album out," I like to stumble into them kind of organically. I've really been on a Olivia Dean deep dive, like, the poppy stuff, the soulful stuff, and everything in between is just, like, really, it's probably gonna be my, like, wrapped number 1 artist. All 5 of the most listened to songs is probably gonna be Olivia Dean. That was basically it with Willow's album this past year.
Yeah.
It was like, Willow was my number 1 listened to artist, and then all 5 of the top 5 songs were Willow, and I was like, "Well, that tracks," you know? So yeah, that's probably what I'll lean into right now, in terms of like uplifting spirits and stuff like that. But yeah, so
Yeah. Is there a particular one that you could name of hers?
oh man, a couple of minutes is really good. Um, Cross My Mind is good. Be My Own Boyfriend. There's a song called Touching Toes. I mean, I don't think she's missed yet. So you
Yeah.
could literally
Yeah.
just go to Apple Music or Spotify and go to Olivia Dean's page and just press play. And it's going to be hard pressed to find a song that's not good by her.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll add that to the playlist for sure, which is an ever growing one and a lot of fun, I think, people who will come to this podcast will kind of get a sense of, the guest and their music. And like I said, like maybe not like a secret, although for some people it has been, but just kind of like where you're at right now. Like moving backwards a little bit in time, like was there or is there a song you felt like you should have loved maybe because everyone else did or you want to fit in like growing up, but like privately it just didn't like resonate with you?
Oh, I never got into like boy bandy music. I'm starting to date myself, but I grew up on R&B male groups and women groups. So the whole 98 Degrees, Backstreet Boys, all that stuff just felt very inauthentic in a way. I also can't stand country music. Even though I grew
Yeah.
up in the South, I just can't stand country music like, in any kind of way. I used to work at AT&T a long time ago, and they would just play it all day. And oh my god, it was the worst. So those 2 are probably the 2 types that I just could not, like, jive with at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, definitely, like, musically as far away potentially as you can get, and yet they sit in the same corner for you.
Exactly, exactly. Which is wild because I won't say wild, it's there are folks that are adjacent to those spaces, even like
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake. I like Justin Timberlake as an individual, but I don't like,
Yeah.
NSYNC, as a collective, right? Except for, like, 1 or 2 songs here or there, but, like, the vast majority of their catalog, I couldn't get with, right?
Yeah.
I used to always love, oh, what was the 90s boy band that was, like, super popular? God, I can't even think of their name, but they're, like, the biggest the originators of white boy band groups.
Oh, like or like New Kids or
New
before New
Kids on the
Kids?
Block, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
liked New
yeah,
Kids on the Block as a young kid, as, like, a 10-year-old, but couldn't stand
yeah.
all of their, like, their spawn that came after them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, it sounds like where you were growing up at that time, it was country music and it was boy bands that were sort of like around you as terms of like popular. Would that be correct?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, being in the South, you do have like a huge country music following and stuff like that. But it was the area that I grew up in Texas was if they want to call America the melting pot, the area that I grew up was the actual melting pot, right?
Mm.
We got all of everything, so it was more of a buffet, right? It's not like growing up
Mm.
in Nashville where it's like you're bombarded with like very limited things, but it's everywhere. Our stuff is very much like you get exposed to everything. So that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why my listening palette is so broad. It's just those 2 genres just never ever took hold, you know?
Yeah. Were you feeling that sort of weight though, like that musical shoulds from like others around you? Or was it just sort of like over there and you weren't really paying attention to it?
I mean, I think with music in particular and in the era that I grew up in, you had a lot of strange dynamics about the types of music that you were exposed to, right? Like MTV didn't start playing black music until like the night until Michael Jackson, basically, right? So and that
Totally, totally.
right. So I had both BET playing and MTV playing.
Mm.
My MTV experience was very much Pearl Jam's Jeremy, Black Hole Sun,
Yeah.
stuff like
Grunge.
very grunge, very like alternative rock,
Yeah.
the Doc Martin punk stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then on the other side, it was like Midnight Love with Donnie Simpson and, very Luther Vandrossy. So I got everything in between. And that was also, of course, during the rise of hip hop
Yeah.
as an art. So you get you get Tupac and things like, Radiohead. Within literally,
Yeah.
like, you wake up in the morning and you get both of those things at the same time?
Yeah. Man, Tupac and Radiohead or like Tupac and Nirvana would be a really good mashup.
Yeah, right. And then you actually got those types of mashups with like Linkin Park and Jay-Z or Korn and
Totally.
Redman and Method Man. You
Totally.
add like genre bending collaborations that really wound up being like exposing the diversity of musical interests at the time?
Yeah. Well, I can still remember the video of Aerosmith and Run DMC Walk This Way.
Exactly, right? And that was
Yeah.
kind of like the blueprint for those kind of mashups. But in all actuality, it was more of a a reflection on how similar seemingly divergent cultures can be and
Hmm.
how music is good music is good music regardless of the type of genre it is, except for
Hmm.
country music because country music is just not good music. But you can grow an appreciation for any of those types of music at the same time, right?
Yeah, there's an album I'm gonna share with you later, maybe off the show. I'm gonna test it out for you and see maybe if I can bring you over to the dark side just a little
Of
bit on
of
that one.
country? Yeah, look, I've heard it all, but sure,
Have you? Okay, well we'll try. I'm still gonna
we'll
try.
try. Like, the closest I get to country music is, like, Hootie and the Blowfish, what
Oh
was his
wow,
not what was his
Darius, Darius,
Yeah,
yeah,
Darius Rucker.
yeah.
I love twangy blues, but I can't do country, right? That is a bridge too far, right? So, even, like
Bridge too
even,
far.
like, twangy, southern, bluesy, like John Mayer or Dave Matthews Band or something like that, like, I can get behind that.
Yeah,
But Garth Brooks, I'm sorry.
yeah, like stadium
Yeah,
country.
stadium country, and now you got, like, rap country, you got all
Yeah.
yeah, I can't do it, man. I just can't.
I feel like man, a challenge accepted. We're gonna work on this. Like moving a little bit, like shifting, but still in those should spaces. Like growing up, like you said, in a melting pot in that time period. What other shoulds or like expectations did you feel like from work, from family, friendships? Like what were those and where do you think those were coming from for you?
Um, I guess being Southern, there are expectations about like the life trajectory, the standard, like I don't think there's anywhere in America that the quote unquote American dream is like shoved upon you than in the South, right? Maybe the Midwest
Mhm.
might be close, but there's nothing like the South. And by the time you finish whatever your training is going to be, whether it be trade school or college, or you go to the military, you got to have your 2.5 kids, white picket fence dog, and a good manly job, right?
Mm.
um the pressures of that are they're yes, they're cultural, they're regional, they're also normative burdens that are placed on a lot of people in American society. I think that in these instances it's not too much that I disagreed with some of those aims, or that like in my mind I was like, I'm not gonna do any of that, but also like being realistic about how people um are both like raised, but also
Mm.
the what the world did to people of my age from the time that we were born to now. It doesn't provide very many opportunities to live out that quote unquote American dream,
Totally.
right? So like I literally was born into war and didn't know a time outside of war until my mid 30s, right?
Mm.
I was born into the Reagan recession and went through 4 more in my lifetimes, right? The the minimum wage is still the same as it was when I was in high school working at a shoe store, right? But the cost of living is exponentially more. So like the idea of raising kids in a society where banks are always on the brink of collapse, or people are going through home foreclosures, that doesn't seem very feasible in a lot of instances, right? Let alone in
Yeah.
black, right? So like being African
Right, right,
American is
right.
like I hadn't even gotten there yet, right? But
Right,
like
right.
let's talk about like inequality and all these other things. So like all of these hopes and dreams that are not just like something that you develop organically, but that are kind of imposed on you at a
Mm,
very young age,
mm,
it doesn't necessarily play out that way just out of like the sheer trajectory of where America has been and where it's going, but
yeah.
also by like as a person of a marginalized identity, it's really hard to accomplish those things even if America wasn't falling apart, right? So
Right, even if, which yeah, good luck.
yeah, right, right. So
Like, can you think of that time too to like was there a particular person in your life that was directly pressing on you that expectation? Like that 2.5, grow up, have a family, get a job. This is the job you're gonna stay in. Like, was there a moment, a place, a space where you're feeling that more?
not necessarily an individual person, and not people that I would encounter on a day to day or people that I would even encounter by happenstance. A lot of this is societal pressures, right? These are
Yeah, yeah.
things that you're indoctrinated into in the most mundane ways that have a massive implication on how you go about your day to day, right? These are
Mm,
things like TV shows telling you,
mm,
like, I grew up in the era of sitcoms and cops, right? So
totally. What a disparity.
and it's like you have the prodigal family and you have also massive criminality. So the like the war on drugs and the uh Doogie Housers of the world, right? Like
Full House, 227.
right, right. Full House, the Family Matters, all of that stuff is what you got on a regular basis, right? TGIF was everywhere at all times for all of my childhood. So
Mm,
like it's not necessarily that the the American dream my mom didn't tell me, hey, go out there and get you a wife and go to no, not ever. But society told me every day, right?
mm.
In the same way that the dare program and the cops and unsolved mysteries and all of these, like before the murder mysteries of Netflix, we were bombarded with like criminality and
Yeah,
scare
yeah,
tactics and the war on drugs and the war on crime and all that other stuff simultaneously. We also
yeah.
had a whole massive AIDS HIV epidemic where you're
Right.
bombarded with that type of messaging all the time. So it's like
Totally.
it's not necessarily that the what I should do or shouldn't do was always the product of interpersonal communications and relationships. A
Yeah.
lot of times it's the ever-present cloud of
Yeah. Yes.
just hovering over you of things
Yeah.
that society tells you that you should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And the I guess the kind of angst that somebody might develop about not living up to those expectations.
Yeah, it was I mean, I grew up in that time period too, right? To age myself, like it was spoken but unspoken. It was shown but not seen, right? You sort of led to the water being like, look at this thing directly, learn from it. Either we want you to be afraid of it, or we're going to raise the bar so high that, good luck catching it, but you're still expected to catch that bar.
And then you like as you turn of age and you become an adult, you realize that a lot of that shit was like bullshit, right?
Totally.
Weed ain't that bad, right? Weed
Yeah.
ain't that bad. Or even if you go to college, you'll get a job that'll sustain you for the rest of your life, right? Those two promises are
Yeah.
on diametrically separate ends of the spectrum, but both of
Completely.
them are categorically false for anybody that's grown up around my age, right? Like if you just go to school and do what you got to do, like I got so
Yeah.
many degrees. Like I'm not like without means by any chance, but there are certain things that are still prohibitive in my life. So like the lie that I
Sure.
was told by people who lived a different life of like, yes, they can go and get a college degree and buy a home and do good, but that was in the 70s where college cost $50 a semester and
Right.
you could buy a house from the Sears and Roebuck calendar. And like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, totally.
$3,000. Those same people are now gatekeepers in well-paying jobs, and they are, living in houses that have work that cost $3,000 to build, but now cost $3 million. This is a 3-bed, 2-bath with like
Yeah.
a dilapidated roof. So just
Yeah.
anyway, I'm sorry. I've gone.
No, no, I think this is really interesting. And I had a whole other line to go down, but actually I want to flip it a little bit. So that model, right? Like from that sort of like baby boomer 70s model of, pull yourself up and get that job and get that degree. That's still prevalent today. It feels like it's shifting to a different kind of should, but still asking people for those same expectations. Like, what do you think those expectations are now in 2026? Understanding of the environment that we still live in, the capitalistic structure that we're still involved in. Like, what are those shoulds you think, and how do we shift those shoulds?
Well, I think a lot of the shifts are. I think the shoulds that exist now in a lot of instances are the same shoulds that were pushed on the boomers. The problem is that they're so out of touch, both about like what the state of the world is now because they have their homes, they have their retirement, right? They
Right,
have all of the
right,
things that they said the world would give them when they were
right.
our age. They were able to accomplish that. But for 90% of the country right now, those things are fundamentally unattainable. There also weren't things like private equity that are
Mm,
like
mhm,
gobbling up
mhm.
starter homes in every corner of the country, right?
Yeah,
There
right.
also weren't things like data centers that are polluting your water supply like constantly.
Mm.
There are things that are pressed upon these generations, like younger generations, that by people who lived in a fundamentally different world, pre-internet for most of their
Totally, totally.
pre-internet, which is wild as like somebody that's 40 and up to say that I'm being told by boomers who didn't have landlines until they were 40 that I should just invest my savings and one
Right.
day I'll be able to buy a home. And at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck are savings? Right.
Right. Yeah, totally.
You
What's a
know,
bank account?
what is it? Right. Like at the end, like, and again, I am by no means a person that is like doing really bad,
Yeah,
but also there are systems and structures in place right now that make that dream that they were able to live and to able to live, that makes it a total fallacy, a fairy tale. The
yeah.
problem is that they are the causes of a lot
They
of the boom. I said the boomers and the gens, like silent gen folks, they are the cause of a lot of the turmoil and the economic, like the undermining of that American dream, right?
yeah, no, totally. No, totally.
Socially, the things that we're seeing that are wrong right now with a lot of society is because of people that are 65 and up, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's it's
No, no, yeah, you're right. Like I'm wondering like with all of those pressures, all of those shoulds, all of those things like you said from people who, you know, grew up, had fully lifelong careers and then retired before internet, mostly, not all, but a lot. Like how are those shoulds that are still around you present physically or emotionally like inside of you? Like how are you feeling those shoulds?
um, you know, in some instances, it's some instances it's laughable, right? Because you would think that somebody who is alive and cognizant right now would at least be able to understand that the things that I should be doing based on those standards are no longer viable options for myself or many other people, right? The sheer fact that a person that built a home, right? I'll use so my grandparents, right, built their home in the 70s, I think. Yeah, 70s. Um, my mother still lives in that home, right? That home, because of where I live, because of like, and it's a beautiful home, right? It's like 2,500 square feet. It's a ranch, all of the things. But it's in a smaller town in Texas, right? So I can't like get any generational wealth out of that home. If
Hmm.
that house was picked up and moved 40 miles to the west, right? It's a $600,000 home.
Yeah.
Um, and now we know that if you pick that house up and move it to the west 40 miles and you replace all of the pictures of my grandparents with stock photos of white families, then it will be evaluated more than it would if you left my mom's pictures up there, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's a structural and a systemic problem, right? So that it's a
Totally.
compounding how little I'm able to benefit from my grandparents building their home at a time where building a home as a black couple was something that was like, oh, upward mobility, right? Or this is
Hmm.
going to like sustain your family for the long haul because we see people that get that, right? We see
Yeah.
people right now who are flipping their grandparents' home for the third time and getting $1.2 million, right? Or
Yeah.
getting 2 million or $3 million. Or if you're in the Pacific Northwest, you built basically a log cabin and you're getting $7 million for a 4 bedroom, 2 bath house.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what that also does is that keeps people from breaking into whatever like joy. So like, part of it is laughable. When I say it's laughable, it's like, what else was I supposed to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
I got multiple degrees, right? I've done the things that I'm supposed to do. And of course the world goes to shit and we have a global pandemic, runaway private equity, right? Of course it happens to me. But then
Yeah.
the other part is like pure rage, right?
Yeah.
For the same reasons, right?
Yeah.
So it's, yeah,
Yeah. It sounds like it's infuriating to you.
yeah, a lot.
And like emotionally that's how it comes out, the sort of infuriation. Like the current state.
Well, at this point, honestly, the current state right now is that it is what it is, right? These conditions are so deeply embedded into the way of life right now that it's like it's gonna take an act of God to shake it. So me complaining about it and me changing it, both from changing my own actions and behaviors, which I feel like I've done what I need to do, but also like changing these octogenarians that are in government right now, who are the ones that are benefiting from all, you know what I'm saying? Again, the boomers and silent generation folks who are okay flipping the world on its end because they don't have to live through the ramifications of it and they don't
Yeah.
care about the generations that come behind them.
Yeah.
What's gonna like how am I supposed to change that at an individual level, right? So it is
Yeah.
frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, no, completely. No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your reflections on this time. It's good to hear, and it's good to talk through. We're running a little bit out of time, and I don't want to run too far over. Transitioning out, I wish I had an hour. Maybe season two will be 45 minutes or an hour to this because these are really great conversations, and I hate cutting them down if I have to. But like moving out, it's taking a step away, kind of where we began at the. Is there a song right now in your music that you're listening to in your life that you feel like other people should be listening to?
So I talked about Olivia Dean. I There's a couple of bands that I will always introduce people to. Um Snarky Puppy is one of them. If you're into jazz, if you're into world music, even if you're not, um, like Snarky Puppy is big band meets world fusion meets and the best parts of complex math equations that so it's very much a it's melodic, it's rhythmic, it's large and grandiose, but it's also like really complicated and beautiful, right? At the same time. The song that typically gets people into Snarky Puppy is a song called Lingus, Lingus. That if you just watch the video on YouTube, I think it has like 12 million views right now. And they win Grammys all the time for best jazz ensemble or all these other things, but like Lingus by Snarky Puppy is probably the one that I would say, um, great music.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll start there. I appreciate that. Well, PA, thank you so much again for being on the show and for the conversations and your insights. It's really, really great, and it means a lot for me to have you here.
for sure, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
You've been listening to I Feel Like I Should. More at ifeellikeishould.com and on Instagram at I Feel Like I Should pod. I'll see you next time.